Okay, hello everyone. We'll get started with the pre-intro now. As you can see, I have all these little cameras set up, and so I'm recording this in hopes of making something cool. And if you'd like, I can share it with you after class so that you can repeat this little adventure that we're going to embark on together at home. So I'm going to do something a little strange right now as a segue from the pre-intro to the actual intro, and that's clap my hands and say, action. Lay down, lay down. You're going to have to, come on. She's good for the pre-intro intro, but come on, come on. All right, sit. Go find another friend. Okay, this is good. Yes. So before we start, does anybody have anything that they'd like me to know about before class? Everything that we're going to do is really simple. And once I give the initial instructions, I'll be around to offer additional support and give you any alignment cues or things like that that would be helpful. But I'll come around and do that kind of one-on-one. So I'll just be speaking to you or shut this mic off. And so if you want to respond at that time, if you have any questions, we can make sure that you're doing it in the right way. Okay. Action. So this girl's got my back, and I had an idea that we could do a little collaboration of a blend of a yoga flow and a sound bath. And so this is our first time doing it. So we're going to find out how it goes. But what I figure is, like, with two really good things like this, what could go wrong? But that's a dangerous way to live. That's what I'm going with. So there will be 5 separate smaller flows that we do over the course of the hour-long class. And so how we'll work with combining them is, I'm supposed to have my little chingy things. Can I use those? Yeah. Is that they'll be flows that I instruct, and the lovely Sunny will be a demo here on the mat, and then I'll be here, but I'll show them also in the tee up before class, so you'll know where we're going and all the things that we'll do. And so there'll be about 2 minutes of instruction, and then about 8 to 10 minutes of time for you to just flow in those movements. So they'll be really simple, and they're very simple by design. And they're specifically chosen for their particular energetic effect that they will have and associated to a different element. So the first flow is an earth flow, and the second flow is a water flow, and the third flow is a fire flow, and the fourth flow is an air flow, and the fifth flow, space. Yes, whatever you want to call it, it's everywhere, and then some. So each one, together makes an hour-long practice, or the hope is that any one of them could be a shorter 10-minute, 15-minute practice that you could put into your mind, body, memory here while we're together and get some feedback from me, and then either continue to practice with the recording or practice on your own. The benefit of the recording, Anand and her sound will be there to fill all of the space. So I'll let her tell a little bit more about sound and why sound is so helpful. But I'll speak to the reason that I wanted to do this is because oftentimes I think we get into a yoga class or we're in in a situation where we're getting some flow or in a flow class, and the whole thing is filled with instruction after instruction after instruction and pose after different pose after different pose. And that's great, but we're wanting to find our flow. So flow is not something that can be imposed from the outside. It's something that has to happen from the inside out. There has to be a syncing of breath with movement in a very specific way. And so part of what we'll do over the course of the different flows is to build and develop your breath with it, so that hopefully by the last flow, you have something like your own flow that you've connected to. So you won't be waiting for my inhale or my exhale cue. You'll be taking those cues from the inside, internally. And this is an important distinction. And something about me is that, I didn't learn about yoga so that I could continue to have people tell me what to do all the time. I wanted to learn about yoga so that I could start doing the practice and investigating for myself and know that I was doing it right, and have had a frame of reference for the feeling of doing it right with some guidance from someone who's done it before, and then experiment on my own, because that's really a lot of what the practice is about, is finding out for yourself. So, as I've mentioned, this is the lovely Anand, and she'll be playing sound as I'm doing the flow. So I'd love for you to say anything you'd like about yourself and about sound healing and how you use these tools.
So I'm Anand, and I'm a Reiki master, sound healer, massage therapist, yoga teacher. And sound to me is magic. It's my favorite. It works with the brain. So our brain has multiple brainwave states, and it's always having multiple layers happening at the same time with multiple brainwave states. But when one is dominant, that's what we're dropping into. And the one that sound helps us get into is the theta brainwave state. And this is where the subconscious and the conscious mind meets. So we're able to clear subconscious debris. And it's also maybe an easy way for you to reference it is like right when you're falling asleep at night, or right when you're waking up in the morning, and you're in that in-between state, and you have maybe a visual or like a whoa here, and you drop into your body kind of a thing. That's theta. Or good body work to me gets you into theta, or a good yoga class at the end, yoga nidra. These are all ways we're accessing that brainwave state. And so this is a way for us to get there. These are Tibetan hand-hammered singing bowls. They're 5 metals, and they're each attuned to the chakras. So each chakra has a different note or a different frequency associated with it. And so I'll be playing them to balance the chakras. And the gong has many notes and tones happening simultaneously, and is really potent for shifting our state in the brain. Aside from the brainwave states, we get into actual cellular health. And so Fabian Mamin is the gentleman who has a website and books and images of, if you have example, one of his images is a cotton ball, and if you take an image of it with prayer, there's one light image around the cotton ball. But when you amplify it with sound, the light is actually more. So we use sound as a way to amplify prayer as well. So my intent is to be a channel for healing for you all. And there's also images of cancer cells busting apart in his work. So it shows that lower vibrational cells that maybe aren't healthy within our physical body are actually busted from the higher frequency of sound medicine. So it's an ancient medicine and healing technique that's actually finding its way into the modern world again. And that's what I'll be doing for you all. So I have those, and she'll be playing the tingsas, and I have koshi chimes. So hopefully y'all enjoy, and if you have questions afterwards about like what sound is what, then happy to share.
Awesome. There you have it. So my maniacal plan was that I could give instructions thoroughly and minimally, and then just say nothing. Because your bodies know. And that's something, the more that I teach about yoga and the more that I teach about embodiment, the more that I want you to know already that you know how to move well, that it's intuitive. And the movements that I'll put you through are developmental movements. So that means that we're starting from the very first movements that you ever made as a human, lifting your head and some subtle movements where you're on the floor, on your belly, just like if you have babies in your life, you've probably seen them. And this is what develops the deepest core. And so we'll start there and sort of build simple flows up through those developmental milestones so that the previous level has been visited and sort of thoroughly smoothed out through your repetitive movement. You know, it may feel jerky or awkward during the first few repetitions, but after several minutes, it will start to feel easy. And once it starts to feel easy is when the real work comes in, of staying inside your breath and inside the movement and repeating. And this repetition is offensive to the ego. It's like, I've got it. Move on, lady. But no, we're going to stay in the slow, simple flows that are made to keep you right here in this moment. And the sound is another support for keeping yourself right here in this moment. So we're not using this sound, which is associated with the space element, to space out and go to the ether somewhere, but rather to space in. And so staying within your senses is a part of why there is so much support for your senses. So when I'm being quiet, for those of you here in person, I'll burn some incense so that your smell is activated, and I'll give you initial cues for what to do with your eyes and what to do with your tongue and your mouth so that your senses can come to rest. Doesn't that sound nice? Right? So the class and the movement are meant to hold your attention. And so the whole thing is like an hour-long meditation. And we'll move through the different flows, and then we'll do a yoga nidra, and then we'll do a meditation at the end. And that's a lot to do, so we need to get to it. Are you all ready? Okay, so the simple movements that we'll do, I'll show you here. The first one I mentioned a little bit about as a developmental movement, but you'll be here, and I'll give you lots of instruction for your breath. And then it'll be an inhale, one movement to center, and an exhale, another movement to the other side. And I'll give you specifics about, what to do with your feet and the alignment and all of that, but that will be the first flow. Wow, pretty painless. The next flow is called a leg roll, and this is a really helpful hip mobility exercise. And it is, again, a developmental movement, and so it's one of the first things we do and is meant to strengthen the deep, soft core. The upper body stays totally relaxed. Leg lifts and crosses over. Your upper body stays really as relaxed as possible. And you did it so good if you flop. And then the other way, the leg crosses over and flop. Okay, and then we'll do the other leg over and back. And I'll give you instructions about really reaching out through the legs. So this is something that can help get a lot of traction in your hips. If you ever feel jammed up in your hips, it's wonderful. And the next flow is starting from child pose. I'll give you some variations to do with your feet, or your toes can be tucked or flat. But you'll inhale, reaching through the back range of motion, coming up to tall kneeling. And the reason why we're coming into this position is so that as quickly as possible, you can find these core engagements that are associated with the fire element and have to do with bandha, or the locks in yoga practice. So you're coming down to a big flexion, reaching the arms through the back range of motion, and as quickly as you can, lifting the front hip bones and activating the glutes while keeping the low ribs down and the shoulders only as far up as they can be without causing a break to happen at the rib cage. So we're trying to avoid that back bending thing that tends to happen in yoga. and think about first keeping this core containment in place and working the back range of motion of the shoulders. Our fourth flow. And then the next will be from tall kneeling with the arms overhead. One leg comes forward and you'll turn and open towards that leg. And just like me at first, it'll be kind of jerky, but eventually you're trying to get it to where your arm and leg are opening at the same time. So it'll be quite a lot of work to stabilize in the opposite leg as you lift that leg up and forward. And if at any time in the flows it feels too much and you're tired, and you can just go back to the last flow that we did. So anytime if you end up back on the floor in that slow flow on the ground to rest, that's good. Then you can work your way up after you've recovered. And then at the very end, we'll do some work with the feet, flowing back and forth here, and some work with the hands. This movement with the hands is spinning on the base of the outside edge of the hand and coming around where the backs of your hands are pointed out and your wrists are deeply bent, but your arms are straight. And this is a way of getting a whole bunch of hand and wrist movements in at one time. And I can't overemphasize how important training your hands is. And so this is a part of that work that we'll do. And then from there, we'll go into Shavasana, where I'll guide your attention and install the breath in different places in the body. And at that time, I'll offer a mantra that you can use. And then we'll come into a short seated meditation for the end. Any questions? That was thorough. Let's go. Miss Sunny, will you take your place, ma'am? You can be just head that way. Yeah. And the side, that one's getting you from the side. Great. Okay. So as we're going, I'll do one chime for Anand to bring the volume of the sound down, for me to give additional instructions if that's necessary at any point. And when we're going to change to the next flow, I'll do 3 chimes. And so anything other than that, I really invite you to fully attend to your own senses. So can start now by bringing your attention to smell and coming onto your belly with your head facing this way. You're taking that position that I just did with your arms in goalpost and your head turned one direction and your leg out to the side in that same direction as your head is. Good. So this is our earth flow, and you can get a feel for why it might be something that's grounding just by feeling how much of your body's on the surface of the ground. And here with the knee straight out from the hip and the ankle straight down from that, we'll take our first flow to the other side. So in one movement, your right leg comes down, your head comes to the center, or whichever leg you have, and then your head turns to the other way, your knee comes out to the side. So as you begin, you'll have a certain amount of mobility available in your neck, a certain amount of mobility available in your knee, so your hip may be lifted up off the ground. As we continue to go, see if you can allow your hip to drop by letting the knee have more space out to the side. And as you get used to the flow, you can start bringing the knee up closer to the elbow. So a few times flow side to side. And now bring your attention to your foot and flex your foot. And as though your foot was the driver of the movement of the lower body, focus on your foot as you pull up and push down, have your focus of attention be this sensation of flexing and activating your foot. Good. And now come to one side and pause and bring attention to your breath, coming in and down, and feel your low belly in contact with the earth. And then feel breath move into the side bodies and into the upper back. So your breath will flow in this way throughout the next few minutes, in and also down. And then bring your mouth position into place with the tongue flat and broad on the roof of the mouth, the teeth slightly parted, and the lips touching. As if there were a hard candy between the tongue and the roof of the mouth, add a gentle vacuum that sort of seals the edge of the tongue onto the roof of the mouth, but allows the belly of the tongue to drop. This is called Jiva Bandha, and it's a containment of the mouth that helps open up the nostrils and free the flow of breath to come in and also down, so that the belly fills, and then the side ribs fill, and the upper back and shoulders fill. And we'll now connect to this breath as the guide for the flow of your movement. So you'll inhale, your leg will come back and your head will come to center. And you'll exhale and you'll come to the other side. So continue to move in this way in sync with your own breath. And you can remember yourself as that little baby, those first movements, and feeling sensitively what places are in contact with the ground and what muscles are making your movement happen. Do your best to keep your palms grounded and your upper body pretty relaxed as you flow side to side. For the next few minutes, allow your breath to continue to be in and down and slow and smooth, and move as slowly as possible. How slow can you move? Last moments, move slowly, but don't stop. Bring both legs behind you and both arms up overhead. We'll begin leg rolls with the right leg. So lift the right leg just high enough to clear the left, seeing if you can keep it about 6 to 8 inches off the ground and cross it over the midline, and keep reaching with the foot back while the upper body stays heavy and you roll from your belly to your back. Using the lengthening of the leg and the reach from the foot. So you may hit a point where you want to press with your upper body. Those are sort of the sticky points that you can work your way through if you're patient, and keep trying to do the action from the leg. Don't push with the arms or the upper body. And then once you get to the back and you're going to your belly, lift the right leg high enough to clear the opposite leg. So just 6 to 8 inches, and cross it over until the hip lifts. Try to keep your upper body totally relaxed as you reach out of the hip. Good. And then same thing the other way. Over the course of the next several minutes, continue to roll side to side. Upper body stays totally relaxed. Make an effort to bring breath into the side bodies. So breath still comes in and down, but you're adding extra effort as you reach the leg back to fill the side ribs and lengthen the side body with breath as you roll. Remember that slow is the faster way. You'll gain more information, and this posture becomes more advanced the more you feel of what's happening. Continue moving in this way. For the next several repetitions, try to have your upper body almost drag. So keep your hand down and see if you can add to the stretch in the underarm and the side body by keeping the upper body almost like it's weighting the move of the pelvis. So try to keep your shoulder down for as long as possible before you roll all the way over. So like one roll could take 20 seconds or 30 seconds. You're moving so slow and dragging the back arm and the back shoulder. So this is in an effort to get more rotation through the roll. How twisty can you be before you flop? Continue moving in this way. Finish on your belly and get centered on your mat. Press the hands down and bring the hips up and back, coming into child's pose, hips to heels. If you find that you have tender knees, we will be on weight bearing on the knees for the next bit. So blanket under the knees could add some support. And for this child's pose, bring your knees as close to midline as you can. And if you'd like, and it feels all right, tuck the toes under. So it's a stretch at the bottom of the feet. If at any time that stretch at the feet feels like too much, just bring the tops of the feet back down in contact with the ground. Palms are face down, down by the feet. And connect to that breath that's in and down and fills in the belly and then the side ribs and then the upper back and shoulders. And exhale. And then on your next inhale, press through the tops of the feet, or press through the feet and the knees, and rise up to tall kneeling as you bring the arms up overhead, out to the side. And eyes can stay down and gently in front of you as a single point of focus. And as you exhale, come back down into child's pose. Doing so as much as you can, keeping the core as a single unit as you come down. So that means activating the back of the neck and keeping the chin towards the center of the throat. So inhale, lift up to tall kneeling. Hips extend forward as the rib cage lifts on all four sides and the arms come up overhead. And exhale, back down. So you'll kind of have to find the right place where you weeble but don't wobble, and contain and hold the core steady so that you can keep your balance. Keep moving in this way and I'll add some refinements. So inhale, rise up. Exhale, forehead to the ground. Now we have this big movement, and as best you can, sync movement to breath so that your inhale lifts you up and exhale takes you down. And we'll add emphasis to the inhale. So as you inhale and your arms sweep out to the side, pull in as much air as you can, like you're exaggerating how much inhale. And as you exhale, allow the exhale and the descend to happen, trying to time your forehead touching the ground with the end of the exhale. And then the inhale begins and then the movement begins. Rise up, reach out, lift the rib cage as you fill the breath to the tip top, and then exhale, come down with as much motor control as you can muster. Keep moving in this way. Make sure to keep the ribs towards the back body as you lift the arms and shoulders overhead, Think of the lift of the rib cage happening from the front and the back at the same time. So all four corners of the rib cage lift as your arms come overhead. So feel free to tuck or untuck the toes as works for you here, and add emphasis to real big extension in the hips from the glutes turning on and the front hip bones lifting. Good. And once you get the movement pattern down, focus on the inhale and pulling as much air in on the inhale as you can. For the next few repetitions, notice the places you rush through and try to slow down even more. As you bring your forehead back down to the floor, reach your arms overhead and slide forward and back into the creeping position that we began class in. So your head's turned to one side and your knees out to one side. Take a big restful breath here. Feel all that contact with earth again. And breath that comes in and down. Allow the knee to be as far out to the side as it can be so that the hip settles. And now we'll move through the same earth flow that we did. So the leg going back and the head comes to center. Now think about lifting the knee and lightening the load of the knee off of the ground as much as you can. So this will add more work in the hip to try to lift the knee just barely as it slides off the ground side to side. Continue moving in this way. The next time both legs are back behind you, pause there. Bring the hands under the shoulders, press up, come to tall kneeling again. And on an inhale, bring your arms through the back range of motion overhead. Really ground through the left leg, and as best you can, bring the right leg straight up and forward, foot right underneath the knee, and take that back, and the other side up. So the more that you ground down through the knee and activate the glutes, the more stable this will get side to side. You can keep this variation moving side to side, or you can add a turn towards the front leg. So the leg that's in front is the one that you turn towards. Inhale, arms back overhead, both legs behind. And I won't give exact inhale, exhale cues for this. By now you've connected to a breath that's in and down. And I'd like you to just find the movement breath variation that works for you. So there may be some repetitions that you lose your balance, but those are the ones that you learn the most from. The more that you can keep your legs together in the back and your leg towards midline when you bring it forward, the more challenge to your balance there'll be. So if it's already challenging, widening your base of support will allow you to get the feel for the movement and the flow. Okay, and remember here that you have all the variations of the flow that we've done before this. So if you get fatigued from this, or your foot hurts, or something is in need of a rest, you could just reduce to the last flow, or come all the way down to that restful creeping position on the belly and flow side to side. But the invitation here is to, no matter at which level, to keep moving. Come back to tall kneeling and hinge at your hips to bring both hands down to the ground. We'll move into a little stretch on the ankles, so you'll lean back on the tops of the ankles. If you can, slide your hands on the ground, coming forward, tuck the toes, and then lean back on the tucked toes. Come forward. Use your hands to bear weight to switch back. Good. So this is one option. You can be flowing back and forth between this ankle work. When you find that you need a break, come to the hands on the ground and the feet in whatever position feels comfortable. Keep the hands on the ground, especially at the heel of the hand, and then twist to bring the backs of the arms, the backs of the hands down, the palms to face out. Then elbows bend to do so, and then you end up back on the palm of the hand. So as much weight down in the hand as feels comfortable, or in the wrist as you can, and as much as you can, twisting the wrist all the way around. So can flow here, and then when the wrist needs a break, move back into flowing over the ankles. I'm just going to keep doing it. Go ahead. Last moments here. As you're ready, come onto your back. As you get onto your back, position yourself well with the feet hip width apart and the arms far enough distance from the body that there's space at the armpit. So you can feel a little air all the way up in the armpit, and have the lowest point possible on your head in contact with the ground. So the chin moves gently towards the center of the throat. We'll be moving your attention to different spaces in the body. And We'll take a deep breath at each space where your attention goes. And if you'd like, along with that breath and attention in each of the spaces, you could add the mantra of the breath, so hum. So it would sound like so as you inhale and hum as you exhale. So you're just repeating that sound silently to yourself as you inhale and exhale in each of these inner spaces. We'll begin now with your attention at the space between the eyebrows. And take a deep inhale and exhale, hearing so hum. And then attention moves down to the throat center. Can remember the mouth position, tongue flat and broad, lips touching, teeth slightly parted. As you install the breath in the throat center, hearing so hum. If your breath pace is different than mine, you can repeat several breaths at the same place. Now bring your attention to both shoulders and a deep inhale and exhale. So hum. To both palms. To the space of the chest and the lungs. So hum. To the solar plexus, just below the rib cage, the center of the torso. To the navel. To the space between the pelvis, the pelvic bones, deep in the body towards the sacrum. So hum. Down to the base of the pelvis at the perineum. So hum. Deep in both hip sockets. Deep in both hip sockets. So hum. Both knees. The soles of both feet. Connect the sensation at the soles of both feet to the sensation at the crown of the head and the fingertips, And as though you could breathe with your whole body. So hum. So hum. Continuing to sense at the soles of the feet, the fingertips, and the crown of the head, and all the space between. And stay connected to your sense of hearing. Move gently and slowly. And if you'd like for the meditation portion to be in a seated posture, you can sit up now. If you prefer to stay in lying, that's also fine. As you get settled in your seat, come back to attention on the breath. And if you'd like, you could maintain that inner mantra, so hum, as you inhale and exhale. And as you do so, I'll invite you to bring your focus to the rise and fall of the rib cage. So as you inhale, the rib cage gently lifts, just as consequence, and lowers. Just tune into that movement. And then on your next inhale, as the rib cage lifts, see if you can keep it lifted as you exhale. So the rib cage lifts as you inhale, you hold it gently lifted with as minimal effort as you can, and you exhale, the rib cage stays lifted. Inhale again, rib cage stays lifted. See if you can breathe in and out of this gently lifted rib cage while holding attention softly on the heart space. This is the focus of our meditation, this gently lifted rib cage, held up, possibly hearing so as you inhale, and the rib cage stays lifted as you exhale, hearing hum, as though you could hear this sound resonating from the heart space. If you notice the rib cage has fallen, simply feel it lift on your next inhale and see if you can maintain that gentle lift as you exhale. We'll conclude our practice with a round of ohms. So don't feel like you have to start your Om at any particular time. Once we get into it, you can just inhale and repeat the sound. If you don't feel comfortable producing the sound Om, you can simply hum. If you don't feel comfortable humming, you can simply listen. I'll offer a short Om to signal the conclusion of our round of Ohms. As you're ready, bring your hands to your heart in some way. It feels comfortable and meaningful to you. And bow the head to the heart. May we be protected. May we be nourished. May we create strength together so that we might know ourselves and be free, forgive easy. Thank you all for practicing. I see you. Namaste. Cue the sirens, right? Wow. Thank you all so much for enjoying this experience of sound, and I hope that you've felt the power of the silence too. Have such a good night, and I'm going to get your emails and send you this. If you'd like to keep practicing it, I would recommend doing each of the flows for a little bit of time, but especially the one that you hated. Especially the one that was hard and felt awkward and like, ugh. So that struggle through those movement puzzles is where learning is happening. So there's not a whole lot to do, but just be bad at it for a little while. When you reach a milestone that is at your capacity, you know it. And that's your place to keep working to develop the core strength that you need for life. Okay, that's enough of me talking. Thank you guys.